Hello and welcome to Conversations with Catherine. I am joined today by Nona Lee. She is the Executive Vice President and Chief Legal Officer of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Nona, it is so great to have you on with me. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Catherine. It's great to speak with you.
You are in your 21st season with the Diamondbacks. Congratulations. It's been a wonderful 21 years, right?
It has. I haven't worked a day in 21 years.
That's the best philosophy. So I wanted to talk to you before we get into your nonprofit that you started almost 20 years ago. I do want to talk to you about what's happening in our world right now and in our community, because you are, as I mentioned, responsible for all legal matters for the D-backs, but you are also a woman in sports. And I go back to this Nelson Mandela quote where he says, "Sport has the power to change the world." And right now, we are looking at a world that is having conversations about race in America and social justice unlike anything I remember. You have numerous athletes and coaches more than ever before coming out and speaking and using their platforms and using their voices to talk about these things that we need to be talking about. So I just wanted to ask your personal opinion on whether you thought that that was long overdue and what kind of role sports should play in social justice.
I don't know that it was long overdue because sports has played a role in social justice for years. I mean, well over a century at the very least. And I think sport has a significant role in social justice because athletes have a platform beyond what so many people have, one that's shared by other entertainers, actors and actresses perhaps, and sometimes in a bigger way because of the immediate access to larger audiences on a more regular basis. The teams that they work for and the leagues that they work for have that same level of access and ability to reach people at a large and consistent level. And so I think, sports has a wonderful platform to help with social change. And it has been doing so for years. I mean, you can think back to, I don't know, the 1950s, even with Jackie Robinson, he marched, I think, for school integration. I think it was back in 1958 in Washington, D.C., and used his platform as an athlete in that way. And you can go to all the Black athletes who support and his refusal to serve in Vietnam, and in the 60s, Tommy Smith and John Carlos during the 1968 Olympics in Mexico with their silent protest of racial injustice. To look at 2016 with a couple of things. First of all, the one that everyone is very well aware of, most people are, and that's Colin Kaepernick taking a knee in silent protest against racial injustice. And in the WNBA, Lynx players wore the Black Lives Matters T-shirts in an effort to support that movement and protest against racial injustice. So these athletes have a voice, and nowadays it's even broader or has bigger reach because of social media, something that didn't exist in the previous days, and just technology in general. And they also are fortunate in the way that they're not necessarily subject to loss of livelihood in the ways that some athletes were in the earlier days. Now, an obvious exception there is Colin Kaepernick,
yes,
which is a statement in and of itself. But so to answer the question, I don't think it's long overdue, but I think it's necessary. I think it's significant. I think it's important. And what I really think is important and what's very different this time is the voice of allies. Wherever those come from, because that's what's different this time. That is what is different, and I hope that helps to effectuate the change we needed for my entire lifetime in this country. I mean, I've lived through the Watts riots, the LA riots, when I was in LA, and now this, and there's a lot of anger and hurt and rage that's been unresolved and unaddressed for years, and so we all have an opportunity to step up and lend our voices to change, and sports is certainly taking a big role in doing so.
Mm-hmm. What about the organization as a whole, the Arizona Diamondbacks? Are there any discussions happening within the organization to help affect change?
Well, diversity and inclusion is always been very important to us, and it's something that we've been focused on. And it's we're not perfect, and I think the leadership in our organization would readily admit that, but we are trying, and we want to try. And what's important is that we are about diversity and inclusion and supporting people who are not treated equally. I mean, we're very connected with, for example, on LGBT issues with one community, and are very much involved with them. And so for us, with respect to racial inequality, yes, we're very serious about the statement that we released yesterday, and we stand with African Americans in this fight against racial inequality and the violence, and that has been and continues to be wreaked on African Americans by police officers and others. And it's got to stop. It's got to change. And thank goodness for social media for shining a light on it in a way. We started to see in 1992 with Rodney King.
92.
But now we see it live in a way never before, and it's indisputable. And so with our organization, we're standing there, but want to be a part of the change, certainly a part of the solution.
Well, I know we were talking off camera beforehand about the fact that there is going to be a new normal, because the normal we lived in prior to the pandemic, it's just changed. And now, with what's happening now with protesting and having these conversations that are long overdue as well. So with that said, what do you think Major League Baseball or the Arizona Diamondbacks games will look like when we do get past this point of being in a stalled position, when we can see games played again? What do you see that looking like in your opinion?
And this is, again, strictly my opinion, because I don't have any information. I know they're still trying to work through all of those issues, but in our current new normal in this pandemic, I certainly hope baseball returns this season. I love the game. I miss the game. I know many of us do. We miss sports and what it contributes to our lives. If it does return, I think more than likely it would be without fans, at least initially, because, a lot of work and thought has to go into the safety aspects of it, and protecting not only the players and the officials and the staff involved, but also tremendous planning as you can imagine, would have to go into returning fans to the stadium in a safe way. We'd love to have them there, but we have to do it in a very thoughtful way in terms of not contributing to the problem by putting people in a situation where they can become ill and thereby spreading the virus.
I want to shift gears real quickly, because you are a woman of many accomplishments. But almost 20 years ago, you created something pretty special here in Arizona, a nonprofit. It's called the Phoenix Women's Sports Association. So I'd love it if you could just talk a little bit about the mission behind it and how people can help support it.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to refer to PWSA as my baby, because I don't have children, but I gave birth to that, and I gave birth to it because I knew that as for myself, I wouldn't have accomplished the things in my life that I accomplished had I not participated in sports, because that is where I learned many of the tangible life skills that it took to get to where I am, including discipline, determination, risk-taking, teamwork, leadership. And so I knew if that was true for me, it was true for other young girls everywhere, but wanting to focus here in Arizona and give them an opportunity to play, particularly those who are from underserved areas and who had financial hardships or other challenges. And so it's primarily who the organization focused on serving and continues to focus on serving, because that's where the need is. There are many challenges that have to be overcome, including some that relate to economics, geographics, and just your background and your family situation. And so one of the ways people can support PWSA or get involved in it if they're interested is that right now they've had to slow down the number of events because of the pandemic, like everyone else. But they are still working to support our girls. One of the things that the organization provides is a scholarship program, or has provided historically, to keep young girls who don't have the means in sports, so that she can perhaps have a better chance of getting a college scholarship. And so, PWSA is always looking for volunteers to assist with the mission and and financial contributions, frankly, so that they can continue to help girls in the ways that they can, even though they can't get them together right now.
Mm-hmm. It's certainly making a difference in our community. And I want to let people know that they can get more information at phoenixwomensports.org. That is the place to go. Nona, thank you for all that you do in our community, for all that you do for women, for all that you do for women in sports. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Catherine, and I appreciate you. Love talking to you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks so much for watching Conversations with Catherine. Please remember to hit the subscribe button, like, and comment while you're here. I'll see you next time.